wanted to report on my recent successful trip to India. I was very pleased to receive an invitation from the Indian government to pay an official visit in my capacity as Leader of the Opposition. Having spent 2 decades developing strong connections with Indian political and business leadership, it was a great opportunity to renew those connections and put them to work for Alberta. I was pleased to spend 6 days in India with my colleague, the Conservative critic for energy, Prasad Pandaji, and the critic for trade, Devin Dreeshen. We spent our first 2 days in New Delhi meeting with senior government ministers, including an hour-long meeting with External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. And we also met with the Minister of Food Processing, Hassamrat Kaur Badal Singh. We met with the Chief Government Whip for the BJP, Anurag Thakur, and with the Minister of Highways, Nitin Gadkari, as well as Agriculture Minister Purushottam Rupala. We also had a reception with some 30 members of the Lok Sabha and Lok Rajya from all parties, Congress, BJP, Akali Dal, AAP, and some regional parties. Very pleased with the turnout, even given the Indian Parliament wasn't sitting. We spent 1 day in Punjab between Amritsar and Chandigarh. We had a very good 1-hour-long conversation with Hon'ble Chief Minister Captain Amarinder Singh Ji in Chandigarh and Manpreet Badal Singh Ji. And great conversations about the success of the Punjabi community. Also reflected a little bit on my background as Federal Minister of Immigration and the need to combat dishonest immigration and travel agents in Punjab, but also better opportunities for Punjabi students to study in Alberta and potential cooperation in agricultural technology. So a lot of good meetings there. Also back in Delhi, we're obviously promoting trade opportunities with Alberta, specifically addressing what we believe are unfair Indian tariffs and other barriers on importing Canadian pulses like peas and lentils, and met with the top leadership of the Indian oil and gas industry in both New Delhi and Mumbai, including the Indian Oil Company, which has a significant investment stake in natural gas developments in northern Alberta. We talked to them about the potential of investing substantially in building a petrochemical facility in Alberta, and look forward to continuing the dialogue with them on that. We also spent a day in Gujarat, in Jamnagar, at the Reliance Refinery, the largest oil refinery and petrochemical plant in the world, which we learned a lot about the Indian energy industry. We confirmed that they would be very interested in purchasing both Canadian oil and gas. They process some 2 million barrels of crude per day, much of it heavy crude, including coming from the United States and Mexico. And they said it would be entirely economical for them to also purchase Canadian heavy crude if we could get it to our East Coast through something like the Energy East pipeline. Finally, we spent 2 days in Mumbai, meeting with some of the top businesses in the country, including representatives of Tata, Reliance Group, other major corporate groups, talking about opportunities for Indian investment in Canada and opportunities in areas like tourism, education, Bollywood productions in Canada, and mining, and many other things. Pay my third official visit to the Sri Harmandir Sahib at the Golden Temple in Amritsar. I also went to the Jallianwala Bagh and the new Partition Museum in Amritsar. We also paid our respects to the Indian Muslim community at Humayun's tomb in New Delhi and to the Hindu community at Akshardham, the second largest mandir in India that belongs of course to the BAPS Swaminarayan community. So it was a wonderful visit, and I think helps to create a solid foundation for a future Alberta Conservative government to really deepen the commercial and human ties between Alberta and India. I should also mention that this trip was at the invitation of the Indian government. We informed out the Canadian High Commissioner to India, His Excellency Nadir Patel, who helped us to put together much of the trip and gave us a solid briefing. We informed Premier Notley well in advance in writing, and I spoke to Alberta Trade Minister Billis, sending him our itinerary. We also refrained from any criticism of the Alberta or Canadian governments while abroad, believing it's important to maintain unity when overseas. We spent several hours visiting the Reliance Geo Center in Mumbai, and met with the managing director of that remarkable project, which is revolutionizing telecommunications in India with, as you know, the $20 smartphone and the unlimited data packages. I mean, they're selling unlimited talk time and 45 gigabytes of data per month for the equivalent of $2 Canadian. They've managed to get 250 million subscribers in just the first 6 months that Jio has been operating, and smartphones for even some of the poorest peasants in India, who now can access, if they make even small craft products, they can access international markets. Farmers are able to see more information about weather patterns and prices for their products. Fishermen up and down the coasts of India can now find the best spot prices for their products. All of this, and now Jio is also offering basically electronic wallets into which benefit checks can be deposited electronically. This is democratizing banking effectively for people who formerly had no bank accounts, no credit facilities. So this is, I can see, I spent several hours fascinated with the deep changes in Indian society being facilitated by this very inexpensive, high-quality data network developed by Reliance. And they said they're not interested in coming to Canada. I complained. I said the package they're selling to Indians at $2 a month, it costs $90 a month here in Canada. I said, please come to Canada, give us some competition. They said, let us finish up in the Indian market first and then we'll think about Canada. This is the second largest market and the fastest growing economy on earth, 1.3 billion people. And yet they cannot find time to spend one day in nearly 4 years in India. To me, this shows the total lack of interest of the NDP government in India and in expanding our export markets. So if the Premier won't represent Alberta in India, well, I'm happy to develop those connections, and I won't be distracted by ridiculous issues like this. Once again, already our trip had been approved previously by the Alberta Ethics Commissioner. I'm very happy that we have very competitive nominations for the United Conservative Party. It shows great interest in our party and a desire for change from the NDP's high tax, high debt policies. So I think that's a positive thing. We have nearly 300 people who have been vying for United Conservative nominations, and very typically over 1,000 members voting with multiple candidates in these constituencies. But I ask them to be positive, to remember that the people they're running against for Conservative nominations are their friends and not their enemies. In fact, I just met with a couple of our Edmonton nomination candidates today from the Punjabi community, reminding them that to stay positive and be respectful of their opponents, and to support whoever wins. We don't want to create the kind of, frankly, the bad blood that exists I think too much in Desi politics. We don't want to create that in Canada. So we want to stay, yes, healthy competition, that's great, but nothing below the belt, please. We've had some unfortunate developments in Calgary that we've had to deal with. We don't want to see more of those, especially up in Edmonton.